Welcome, everyone, to the Culture Based Podcast. I'm Dustin. He's Blake. Happy Halloween. It just hit me that I maybe should have grabbed my go-to Halloween mask and had that on at the beginning of here.
Yeah.
But you can pretend that what you're seeing if you're watching on YouTube right now is a mask.
Yeah, here's my Halloween costume.
Look at him. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually... I'm going to say not fake.
This is Glasses Blake.
Yeah. Yeah. Not fake.
Not
I like
fake
it.
at all.
This is why you should watch on YouTube, folks. Let's get our YouTube numbers up. If you want to see Glasses Blake and you're listening right now, you should be watching this on YouTube. Man, we're so pumped to be with y'all. Happy Halloween. Hopefully you're going to go out, and if you have a family or friends get together, trick-or-treating, all that fun stuff. If you're like me and you have a couple of younger kids, they're making last-minute costume changes. And my daughter's trying to make a lightsaber out of a glow stick because we're crafty. We're crafty people. Yeah. And Mom says we ain't buying no Halloween costume. We're making it because that's how she was raised. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Because it helps. But yeah, we're excited to be here today. We're going to talk about a little bit of a scary topic. We chose a scary topic, because of the spooky holiday. We'll make the connection for you if you're with us. We're going to talk about why people quit. Ooh. Listen, it's not my nature to be mysterious, but I can't talk about it, and I can't talk about why. One of my favorite quotes of all time, if you know me, Ocean's 11, 12, 13, big fan. One of the great scenes. So that's for me, if you're watching. Anyway, why people quit is what we're going to get into today. Can't wait to talk about that. But first, I want to remind you that we're here to help leaders know what they're about, show where they're going, and build scalable teams to get there. If you... if you are following us along on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, all those places like that, you can see us at The Culture Base, BASE. Or if you'd like to talk with us about what's going on with you and your organization and how we might be able to help do just that with you, you can go to theculturebase.com, click on the Let's Chat, Let's Talk. I can't remember what it says. Something about connecting. Do that. Click that button. And we would be more than happy to sit and talk with you, just kind of a free 30-minute strategy session on how you can know what you're about, show where you're going, and build those scalable teams. Let's see what else we got. If you are listening, thank you so much for tuning in. It means the world to us that you would listen to us ramble on about culture for a little while, including us in your day. We would love for you to, if you're gaining anything out of this, hopefully you are, that you would leave a 5-star review. You can either pause the show and do it now, or when it's over, we'd love for you to do that. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. You get to see Glasses Blake. Glasses Blake reminds me of, those teeny bop rom-coms where they're just all the girl had to do was take her glasses off and she was beautiful.
Wait a second.
That's
Do I look better with the glasses, or
you look older with the glasses? I promise you that.
Oh my gosh! So this is like my face beard that I can't grow.
This is 100%. This is your beard. Oh yeah, bro.
Yeah. Have you found my pipe?
I mean, you're a starched white. You're a starched white short sleeve collared shirt away from being Marty McFly's dad.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, subscribe, ring the bell if you're watching on YouTube, and look at Blake go with those glasses. Oh, he's beautiful again. He took them off. Oh man,
I don't even have makeup on. This is great.
You do look like you have makeup on though.
Oh
you're
man, pretty person. I thought I didn't look like that.
Nah, it's natural. It's natural beauty.
Okay.
Whereas I'm a little cold down here in my studio today, and so I opted for the hoodie. It does not reflect my energy level. I've already recorded 2 other podcasts and edited a video today, and it's only 11:30 a.m. So get off me. But listen, folks, we know it can be terrifying to deal with the constant revolving door of team members. Turnover leaves you second guessing everything within your organization. But Blake, you know what? If we get down to knowing why people actually quit, don't you think it can empower us to new strengths that we never thought possible?
I feel like the answer is yes.
Yeah, I feel like you
You're
should say
like,
it.
yes. Why, yes, Dustin, I do believe such.
Oh, good.
These glasses are messing with me, you know?
Yeah. You're not even
Um,
wearing them. They're just staring at you from the
they're just
desk.
looking at me and I'm like, oh, I'm aging. That's great. Yeah, no, 100%. This, I think it's important before we jump on like what all these things are
Yeah.
to talk about maybe the larger elephant in the room, and that tends to be that business leaders, owners, um, don't really care. They
Mm.
care in a high level that people are quitting. Like as a general scope, man, turnover, right? You know, like
Yeah,
that's kind of
all right.
their, am I right here? But in the same sense, they don't care that the person is quitting. Like it's an idea, but it's not like personal, to them. Oh, that person left. And so it should be. All of this really should be affecting and hitting for a much bigger reason. Okay. Even just outside of the fact that that's another human being who's leaving your organization. I don't like back in the 80s, maybe even before, when people were like, you want to leave, we'll leave. And then there's that moment that they're like, you're fired. And they're out the door and you're like, all right, get another person. That doesn't really exist. And I think that's why we need to, before we even jump into this, understand like the next 10-year business forecast. And I don't mean like what the recession or anything else like that. But what I mean is, what does it look like? You're forecasting in your business all these, hey, here's the sales we want to hit. Here's how we want to be innovative and go after this. But at the end of the day, the one aspect that is rising in value over everything is the humanity aspect of actually having people to do the work you need done. And so I'm saying this because, and we've talked about some of these statistics before, but it's important to continually hear these
Is this the
and then
forecast?
let
Are
it
you?
hit you. What's that?
This is the forecast that you're about to give.
Exactly. And
Okay,
so
real quick before you get that, I just want to go, dun, 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 reporting live for Culture Based News Network. It is Blake Bear with your 10-year forecast. Let's
Oh,
go
yeah,
with it.
Dustin, thanks so much. So it looks like by 2030, 20% of our workforce is going to retire. And, I need the glasses. Shit.
Yeah,
They're going to retire. And these are our seasoned veterans, It's
you
it's
know.
pretty
Well,
significant. These are the Mr. Miyagi's we're losing here, and we got to do something about it. Okay.
wow,
And I'm going to go ahead and transition back to normal me because as
that was
joking as we
weird.
are, like it is serious that we are going to lose one in five's retiring by 2030. Like this isn't even like this is less than 10 years. What are you doing about this? Are you thinking about this, or do you not care that people are leaving your organization? Okay. And I think it's important to say these people, your boomers, your Gen Xers, they're the ones, more so your boomers, are the ones who aren't just leaving jobs nonstop. Right? This is your consistency. This is the generation that you could count on to be there. These younger generations, they're okay with moving from job to job to job. This is a bigger deal than we were giving it. Not just one in five people are leaving, but the most consistent one in five are leaving.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
also seeing that we've had the lowest population decline since our census began. The lowest 10-year population like increase that we've ever seen. It's even there's a good book, The End of the World is Just the Beginning, and it talks about how like when your population growth gets below a certain point year over year, that's usually a good sign that civilization is about to fall. And they gave a whole lot of good examples, but we're underneath that. Like we are under it, and there's definitely reason. Like so now that one in five that we used to be able to fill because our population was higher and we could fill those seats, we don't have that anymore. Our technology is advancing at such a rate that we're increasing in the amount of jobs needed and not increasing in the amount of people needed. Okay. And as you know, obviously as a leader in your company, I don't think you can be like, hey, I need you to go home and procreate. Okay, just go home and make it happen. Okay, we can't say that. So it's just another one of the issues that's part of our 10-year forecast. And get this, by 2034, there will be more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 18. Y'all, that's scary. That's very scary. It'll be the first time in American history that's the case. Why is that a problem? I mean, think of all the people who are retiring and how much we're going to have to pay out and how much we're going to have to be developing in order to even have social security or anything of that nature. And we're just not feeling it. So all these things are scary, spooky Halloween, but it's scary. But when you don't take it seriously in the day to day of how your team looks and how people are leaving your company, that's where stupidity meets scary.
Yeah.
Okay. That's when you're like, oh yeah, those are issues, but I'll deal with them when they come. My friends, they're here. Just because that's a 10-year forecast, the decisions you make today are the ones affecting that 10-year forecast. You can't fix it all in 10 years. You need to be fixing it right now. Okay. And I'm not saying that every person who leaves your company, like, oh, I can't believe that happened. No, there are good things when some people leave your company. They don't fit the culture. They don't match like the way your organization needs to be. That's okay. But if you have such a high turnover rate that all these issues of why people are leaving, you're not going to take care of, like now, you're not going to be able to fix it later. So
yeah, that's really good. And I think we're what we're hitting on here is, yes, 10-year forecast includes losing, some of our workforce, but it's the shift too. If you were listening closely to that forecast that Blake gave us, it's the shift too in the demographic. It's the shift in the age that we're going to have to start shepherding through our organizations. And so we found a 2022 study from BetterUp that listed, here are the top 5 reasons why people quit. And so we're going to spend the rest of our episode going through this list. Now, here's what you're not going to hear boldly on this list. You're not going to hear the word culture on this list. But here's what I want you to listen for. I want you to listen for, as we're going through this list, are these culture issues within your organization, or are they something else? Right? Is it a creativity issue? Is it an innovation issue? Right? Or is it actually a culture issue? So the number, should we go 5-1? What do you think? I know I
I don't
listed
know.
them 1 to
I
5.
don't think so because I don't know that these are truly in order from
I
multiple
don't think they
studies
are
to
either.
see.
I don't
Because
think they are either.
number one that we hit being salary is actually
Yeah.
one of the lowest percentage wise.
Yeah.
That is usually what everyone thinks is number one, like in
Yeah.
the reason people quit, but it's actually like the lowest.
Right. So it's this article is saying one of the top 5 reasons people quit is because of salary. It is because of the money. It is, at the end of the day. I was listening to a sports talk show this morning, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, is that how you say his last name in the NBA?
Yeah,
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I don't know.
He's up against a contract negotiation right now. And he said, listen, it's not about the money. It's about a lot of money. I thought that was awesome. For some people, that is what it's about. But can I just say this, Blake? When I think about salary being an issue for people and longevity with an organization, I think that is a short-sighted issue. I think it's a temporary issue. Because here's what I know about people that really center their lives around the dollar, is that it goes as quickly as it comes. And there is a sense of never being satisfied, never being content. And I'm not trying to get into like a preacher mindset here. I'm just trying to say that for those who are structuring their lives and structuring their business around the bottom dollar instead of a unique vision and calling and purpose on
Mm.
their life or their organization, those businesses and those people are fleeting. And
Mm.
so, why someone may leave your organization because you're not paying them enough, I would argue a couple things. On their end, it's short sighted for them to say that what I need the most in life is this number of dollars.
Yeah.
And I would say for you as an organization, it's short sighted for you to say that while we can't pay you that, or it should be short sighted for you to say, okay, well, if we just give you more money, will you stay?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think that's what a lot of times business owners and leaders get sucked into, of going, we can't afford that person's talent.
Yeah. You know, I think it's always a supplementary reason. And that's why it hits the top 5, because it's always like, I couldn't grow and the pay wasn't that great, or, I it just wasn't appreciated there and the pay wasn't that great. Like,
Mhm.
it tends to be that type of thing. But one of the big problems that is a feeder problem into what you were talking about is that over 80% of employers believe that the number one reason that people leave is because of money. But the
Right.
actual percentage as of 2019 was only 12%. Only 12% of people left strictly for the reason of money.
Mhm. Right.
Okay. So that's a drastic mindset, like cognitive dissonance between those paying money and those receiving money. Very different. And
Right.
so it's important and it hits that top 5. But really, like, if you're within that threshold, that permission to play, as I usually say a lot of times, like, you got to be within the permission to play standard that someone can live. You got to be within the permission to play standard of like, what does this what is the average for this type of job? Where does that threshold live? But people who are inside that threshold tend to not just leave because of the pay only. It's usually
Yeah.
something else on top of it. So,
Yeah, it's like you were saying, it's supplemental. It can be secondary, not the primary reason. More often than not, they're not willing to deal with one of these other
yeah.
reasons on top of the fact that they may feel they're underpaid.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people are. We said this many times before in this podcast. A lot of people are willing to stick with a company that can't afford to pay them what both parties agree that they deserve. They're
Mhm,
willing to stick with that company because all of these other things that we're going to talk about those needs have been met.
mhm,
They're willing to stick it out. And so that's why when we say salary is a culture issue, it's not necessarily where you put your dollar. Yes, that does matter. If you look at your budget and you're looking at, okay, where are we spending our most dollars at?
mhm.
That
Yeah.
that says a lot about your company. That says a lot about the culture of your company. But even more than that, are people willing to stay even if they're underpaid, because they're committed to the mission of the organization, they're committed to what you're about, and they're taken care of in all these other areas. The second one of the not just another one of the reasons that they mentioned in here is career advancement.
Mhm,
Have they plateaued? Like, I
mhm,
know a friend that both Blake and I know that worked for one of the largest companies in the world, Amazon.
mm,
And I won't give away his name because it was a unique. I don't want to get him in any trouble with his former employer, but I will say that the reason ultimately that he left Amazon was because of their structure system at the time. He could not advance any higher than he was. It was impossible. It didn't matter if he stayed with the company for 20 more years,
yeah.
he couldn't advance. He got an offer from another company, and the entry for him was going to be higher than anything that he had at Amazon before, and so he took it. It wasn't about the money, because
Yeah.
Amazon money was good money. It wasn't
Mhm,
about all those perks, because Amazon perks were good. And he's told me many times,
mhm.
man, I miss the perks of working at Amazon, but it was worth it because now I'm at a new level of my career.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And we talk about career advancement, and I think this is a lot of times, like, there are hard plateaus. And what we and our team say all the time is that positions do top out, but people don't top out. And so your
Mm,
ability to continue to grow is in your hands, but find an organization that helps you do that? How do you grow through your organization? And are you in a place that, like, the second part where people don't top out is true? And this is where, even in my book, I talk about that there really being three reasons. The first one being, or the second one being the ability to grow or the perceived ability to grow. And sometimes, and I would almost say all the time, companies have the ability for you to grow. They are probably not very clear about how, why, when, what it looks like. What does a growth path look like here? The problem is a lot of times we're not being clear about that. And it doesn't mean that us millennials and Gen Zs need to have everything so specific, but it's just like, hey, where's do you know where the gas station is? Yeah, it's right over there. It's direction. I didn't just tell them every step to get to the gas station. I said, yeah, it's over that way. Okay, that's what we need when we're talking about career advancement, is not every jot and tittle about how you get there. It's just the direction. It's that way.
Yeah. Number 3 on their list was, I think probably one of the most blatant culture killers on this list, the most outspoken culture killer on this list, and that is disrespect. My friend Disray got no respect. Sorry, I remember that. I remember in the office, right? when he was trying to remember about a pattern of disrespect.
I love that we reference The Office. So, like, hey, welcome to this Office podcast where we talk about business.
Where we talk about culture. Yeah, that's really it. It's really culture 101 through The Office. But I mean, disrespect is the most blatant, right? I mean, it's clear to see that in any culture. It doesn't take very long for you to walk into an organization, whether you're a part of it or not a part of it, and go, wow, there's okay, I get it. I get that people that disrespecting other people and being okay with it is a thing here. And people are like, oh, we're just joshing each other or whatever, but honest, like, respect, I should say, goes a long way. You don't have to, we've said this all the time, you don't have to be best friends with everybody that you work with,
sure.
But you do have to respect them. And if you can't respect them, then there's a bigger issue that you need to address. And so disrespect, I think, is one of the most blatant culture issues out there, Blake.
It is. It's the lack of appreciation as well that goes into that, is that you don't value that person at a certain point. And it's crazy, because I think a lot of that, like, there's blatant disrespect, but there's also passive disrespect. And it's really how someone perceives the story in their own head. Oh man, they were so disrespecting me. Let's be honest. Does that mean they were actually disrespecting them? We don't know. We don't know the other side of the story. But what we know is the story that person's telling in their own head, which is their reality. And so a lot of business owners, leaders are probably thinking, well, whatever they think's not my problem. It is your problem, because it's their reality. That's your problem.
Yeah.
If they don't feel appreciated, and it's that one really is number one. That's the number one reason people leave, is a lack of appreciation there. And so if someone's going to leave, that affects you. So even just take little steps there. And this is, we've talked about how Gallup defines, appreciation is just one positive interaction with the direct superior in the past 7 days. Such a low bar, such low-hanging fruit to grab at that. Just even those little things go a long way. But when you do nothing and you're like, well, I didn't say anything, I didn't mean anything, okay, but when you don't tend a garden, you get weeds. Okay, you don't get nothing, you get weeds. So that's what's happening here.
Yeah, you're opening up the storybook to be written by the other person. A lot of people are like, well, like you said, well, I didn't say anything, so what I mean, it's okay. But you're leaving that gap there for them to think whatever they want to think, and a good leader will fill in the story before the story has a chance to be written. against them or against the organization. Number 4, Blake, on our list today from this study is one that a lot of leaders. I know we were talking about even before we started recording. Well, they'll just kind of throw up with their hands and be like, "Well, there's nothing I can do about that."
Mm.
But I think there are some creative ways where we can at least address and acknowledge the issue of childcare.
Mm.
Now, I know you're like, we're all adults here. You have a job. Like we did work for a long time. Like if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, like I did, like I got home from school and mom and dad weren't there because they were still at work.
Latchkey
You know what I mean?
kids.
Yeah. So that's not the same world that we live in anymore. We're a lot smarter. We know about psychological effects of leaving kids alone. We know about the safety and dangers of leaving children at home alone. Like we know more now,
Hmm.
right? So there's less excuses, and so we can't necessarily say, well, just put on your big boy pants. When I was a kid, yeah,
Mhm.
that's great. That's great. And I'm thank God you're still alive, and thank God that you survived through that you lived to tell the tale of, the great vast journey of
Yeah.
you growing up through those times. But that's not the times that we live in anymore, and the sooner you can accept that, the better that you can start growing your organization. So
Mm.
I think the childcare issue, like I started to say at the beginning, is more of an acknowledgement
Mhm.
than a complete shove off. And I think there are some creative ways that we can take to address these issues if it really is a hindrance
Yeah.
for people, for keeping some of your best people.
Yeah, and it's a what can we do? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like this is a problem a lot of times with leaders and visionaries is when we get an idea of what we want it to do, we want it to be the full culmination of what we want. As
Yeah.
if we went from like coming out of the birth canal to running in the next day. Like that doesn't happen. The ecology of needing to grow to that equates to how your business can grow with that. Do you have
Yeah.
the resources to grow with this? Well, maybe not, but what we could do is start here. So, like, for example, I love the idea of someday being able to offer full childcare at our organization, that we hire someone who they do that and we are able to offer that to our team. I would love that. I can't do that. Like, I cannot provide that at this point in time. However, we started off with, hey, we can offer paternity and maternity leave. We
Mm.
can start there and we'll grow with it. We'll do the little things that we can do. You know what? Another thing we can do, maybe we can help offer financial, like, not intelligence. What is the word? Financial literacy. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the ability to start understanding how to handle your finances. Well, what does that have to do with childcare? Well, knowing how to manage your money is big. And if you think that anybody got that in high school, that's not true because parents expected the teachers to teach financial stuff to our students. They didn't because they expected colleges to teach that. They didn't because they said, we don't want them to know how much money we're taking from them. So
Mm.
here's the problem. We get out into the real world. Everyone's faking like we understand finance. We don't. And then we get out there and we're like, all right, now our financial literacy is how to get out of debt, not how to have a good financial mindset.
How to
It's how to
thrive,
get
how
out.
to survive.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
now what if we could train and teach that, hey, if you can't understand expense like management before you understand I need more revenue or I need more money in my pocket, that more money in your pocket won't fix the problem. Understanding how to manage expenses will fix the problem.
That's right.
And so how does that deal with childcare? It deals a lot with childcare. And
Yeah.
so thinking creatively, what are the little things we can do to help get closer to what our desire is? That's where you got to start.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's different things that you can do, and we're going to talk about this here in the end. There's different things that you can do to take the next step, and people notice when companies are trying.
Mhm.
You may think that your employees and that your team members expect the world out of you, but they really just want to be seen. They
Mm.
really just want the acknowledgement that you care enough that this is an issue. And yes, this isn't a stopgap, raise this to the top of the org chart issue, but it is something that you should have someone on your team who's paying close enough attention to these things to say, hey, guess what? A big felt need of our team right now is a lot of them have young kids at home and they're
Mhm.
struggling with childcare. We need to address anything that we can with them on this in order to keep a thriving culture. Number 5 in this list, is another big one, I'm sure. But they say lack of flexibility is a big reason
Mm.
that people leave. Blake, what do you know about that?
Man, that's when I saw this one, that was a good reminder to like think back through COVID because real originally when I wrote my book, it was like right at the beginning of COVID and everything was changing and I was actually editing at that point. And so like that wasn't a big one 3 years ago.
Hmm.
It's a pretty big one now.
Sure
And
is.
even though we're post COVID and everyone's pushing people to go back into office, there is a lot of reality that some of that flexibility leads to productivity. Some of that flexibility leads to satisfaction of being able to not have to drive 45 minutes one way and 45 minutes back, that I'm getting interaction with my family more. And COVID helped us all see the commodity of time. You know,
Hmm.
it really helped us see that time is more valuable than money in a lot of ways.
Yep.
The problem here is that not every position has the flexibility aspect. And understanding some of that flexibility aspect is a challenge too, because if you can offer those things, I think that's when you say, okay, what can we do? What is beneficial for both the person and the company? And remember, what's beneficial for the person is also beneficial for the company. And as you think through those things, I think you're just as we said with the childcare, anything you can do a little goes a long way. If
Yeah.
people are appreciated by one good interaction with a direct superior in 7 days, one little thing here, I think, will go a lot further than you
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah, I think when I think about this one too, and you mentioned that not every position has as much flexibility, maybe as other positions. I think the thing that I think about here is expectations.
Mm.
I think a lot of this is not on the list, but I think a lot of people leave, a lot of people quit because of unmet expectations. But
Mm.
here's the thing: neither like they never spoke those
Yeah.
expectations, and you never asked.
Yeah.
And so they're constantly frustrated at these unmet, maybe unrealistic expectations. Hey, I thought I was going to be able to work from home because it's 2023.
Yeah.
Why not?
Hmm.
Well, you're a cashier.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you work from home? You know what I mean? So it's like, well,
So true.
so there's expectations that have to be laid out there. And I think some of the things that we think are, well, that's a given. Like those are the things you need to be listening for
Hmm.
when you interview is, do
Yeah.
they have an expectation of flexibility? And listen, everybody wants flexibility,
Yeah.
whether they say it or not. Everybody wants to be able to take their lunch break when they want, not when they are told to, right? They want the ability to work from home a couple days a week. They want the ability to come in later, to leave early, know that they're going to make up those hours. There are many ways that you can address this issue. But like Blake said, just addressing the issue, just talking about this issue
Mm.
could gain you favor a long way
Mm.
in your culture. And I think, Blake, that goes to an overall belief in people, right?
Absolutely. One aspect that I think is a part of flexibility that we may not think about, but
Mm,
became very clear is that part of flexibility is autonomy. And
yeah.
that's a big one. There are so many books written about how do you give autonomy to your team at work, for them to
Hmm.
do the things that they are super good at. When we like the opposite of flexibility, obviously, is like stringent, right? Or it's some kind of strict environment. We're not in that place anymore. And um, you want to keep the things that need, and I really mean need to be strict, you need to make leave the room for those to stay strict. Like if there are certain standards because medicine's getting made and you have to follow this process, yeah, that's got to be strict. But if you make
Hmm.
everything equally as strict, man, you're going to burn people out quick because they're never going to be able to engage in the autonomy of certain aspects of their life. And if
Yeah.
people don't feel autonomy, they lose their ability to make their own decisions and have that personal agency. And it's really just a way to hit burnout quicker. So I think part of that is we just need to allow autonomy. And you're right, the belief in people, like when we start looking at overall, like, we're talking about all these reasons people quit. Well, how do we make it better? And I like Dustin said, the doing anything's a big part of this, but a bigger part of this is the belief you have in your people. And
It's
so every
mindset.
one of those, like there's an old story back in gosh, I want to say it was either the 50s or the 80s. I know that's a big gap.
Mm.
I recognize that.
I'm in the 1900s.
Somewhere this, oh, it's not even this century, in the last 100 years, um, there was a guy named Robert Rosenthal, who was a Harvard professor, and he was pushing out this test to like elementary schools called the Harvard Test of Inflected Acquisition. And this test was supposed to predict people of high standing in our society later on in life. And so they would come in and they would give this test. And this test, they give it to them, they get all the reports back, and they say, okay, and they go have a meeting with their teacher and say, the top three people on this test were Joey, Sally, and David. Okay, here are the top three. And they'd be like, okay. And they say, hey, we're going to come back at the end of the year and see how everyone scores again and do like a control, but we can't have you talk about any of this stuff. It needs to stay under wraps. And they did this at a ton of places. And so sure enough, a year later, they come back, they do the Harvard Test of Inflected Acquisition again. And sure enough, Joey, Sally, David still top of that test. The problem is that that test was actually a big farce. The test was good. It was an IQ test, but the test itself, Joey, Sally, and David actually didn't score high in the first part.
Mm.
What the test was actually there to see was how the teacher's belief and effect on those students affected their outcome. Because the truth is, when they did come back the second time and do the test, Joey, Sally, and David were top three. And it's because of the belief of the teacher giving benefit of the doubt when they were having problems and helping them work through it, teaching to their learning style. And you might be like, but I'm not a teacher, I'm a business leader. No, you are. You're a teacher, you're a coach, you're the person who is putting into these kids, adults, whatever you want to call it. You're putting into them, and your belief upon them breeds outcome too. And so that's why it's our belief upon that is a huge part of nurturing the right culture so that people don't leave for all of these items.
That's so powerful. Just for the nerds in our room that are going to be like, yeah, like it was between 1950 and 1980, and it was exactly in the middle of that. It was 1965. So you nailed the median there.
Whew.
Just nailed it.
I'm mathing pretty hard.
Yeah, he's mathing hard. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, like what Blake is saying is so important. And I think what we want to leave you here with today is that taking any step towards nurturing and bettering your culture, it's going to help you develop these scalable teams that we always talk about. Like the same thing that you can do to nurture culture can damage culture if it goes unaddressed. And so we're just saying address these issues. Surround yourself. You might not be the person that thinks of these things or that feels these things as they're coming up from the bottom of your team up. Surround yourself with people who do feel those things. Surround yourself with people who go, you know what I'm feeling on our team right now as I'm having conversations in these one-on-ones is this issue. Yeah, me too. Okay, so let's address that issue. Let's not just go, man, I hope that goes away one day.
Yeah.
That'd be great if it just went away one day. It won't. You have to address it.
100%. You, just like Dustin said, you might not be that person who says, well, I'm not that touchy-feely person, and why don't I just hire someone who else, because I can't reach and touch everyone, right? I can't be that person who hits everyone in my organization. That's true. But you can touch some people, and you can invest into some people. And the more you invest into those people, that goes on and that goes on. And it is a big Ponzi scheme, but connection is contagious. Okay. And so when you connect and you invest that part of you into your people and into your culture, and they go invest that, it's unbelievable what that can do. And then anywhere you're having issues, you just go deal with that issue. And you don't have to do everything, but you've got to do something. Don't just pass culture off to anybody else. Okay. That is passing off maintenance in the environment of your organization to somebody else because you don't want to deal with it. Don't do that. Okay. And if for only just the reason that you want to have a good EBITDA, don't act like people don't look at, or people who are buying companies don't look at turnover. It's one of the number one places they look.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been a great conversation on all things why people quit. And so hopefully you're addressing those issues this week. Hopefully there's something that you can do today to address the issue of why people quit. And it can be a scary topic, but listen, it's going to be more scary if you don't address it. So why don't you talk to us about it? If there's an issue that you're feeling right now, something that we said today, and you're like, man, I need to bounce this off. I need some ideas on how we can tackle this issue better. Go to theculturebase.com. I'll put up on the screen right now, theculturebase.com, and click on the button that says strategy, or culturebase.com/strategy to get your free 30-minute strategy session with us, and we can help you develop these scalable teams. We cannot wait to be back with you again next time. We're gonna be going to work on the farm, Blake. We're going to work on the farm next time. So bring your farm glasses. So bring your farm glasses next time, because next time we're going to talk about building a farm league.
Ooh.
That's right. It's not just the farmers, and it ain't just about baseball. It's time to build a farm league. Let's go. Talk to you next time on the Culture Base Podcast.